Hi, I'm Holly. Thank you for clicking on my talk. I am going to start by giving a quick rundown of what you can expect. First, a little visual description of myself. I'm white, I have short brownish hair, and I'm wearing like a pale green t-shirt. I've also got a nice cup of tea with me, so if you'd like to pause this video and grab a cuppa, please join me. That would be really sweet. I will be going through, I think, about 8 slides, and this talk should be about 15 minutes as part of Impact Day's micro talks. So this talk is about how I almost didn't get into the games industry. I think I have quite a unique story of how I got into the games industry, and looking back, I think I did beat a few odds, and that's not to say that I wasn't like incredibly lucky or benefited from good timing, but I think it's a story worth telling that hopefully inspires someone to keep going and just kind of believe in themselves more. But also it gives like a tiny bit of an insight into what disabled people are sometimes up against. Although I am like specifically talking about my own experience here as someone who's autistic and has a lot of sensitivities to sound. Just a little disclaimer as well. This isn't a talk on what you can do to get a job. I sadly can't help you there. I feel like I managed to get into the industry kind of just before it all became incredibly difficult. It was just starting to show some signs, but nowhere near as brutal as it is right now. And yeah, I feel for anyone who's looking to get their first role at the moment, it's really tough. I also just realised that I'm drinking out of my Global Game Jam winner mug, but I am in fact not a winner. I think I came near to last, but they just had a spare mug, so I nabbed it. So yeah, I don't think this is me showing off because I did not win. But yeah, so getting into a quick intro on who I am and what I do in the industry. As I mentioned, my name's Holly, my pronouns are they, them. I am currently a programmer at Electric Square and Lively, which is a keyword studio, and I mainly develop mobile and VR games. I've previously worked on the Apple Arcade exclusive Warped Kart races, and I'm working on something really cute at the moment that I really can't tell you anything about, and I wish I could. It's very sad. And part of my work at Electric Square and Lively, I'm also a board member on their DEI initiative, Connected, and I've just finished wrapping up a Pride fundraiser, which is my second time doing that now, so I feel maybe I can call it an annual Pride fundraiser. I guess it'll depend if I do it again next year. And outside of that, I am also a committee member at Limit Break, where I volunteer on the operations team. And I'm really proud to be involved in Limit Break because they've, well, as you'll see throughout this talk, they have like helped me a lot with my own development. So it's great to like volunteer with them. And then as well as that, I am on the current Impact cohort, which is why it's especially exciting to be involved in Impact Day and have a little tiny micro talk for you all. So to start this off, I kind of have to roll it like right back to, I want to say 2020 with a few question marks. I'm not sure exactly. But at the time I was working as a VR host, part-time, and also as a gallery assistant selling paintings. I'd been working at the gallery for I think about 4 years, but both of those roles were very like customer focused, especially being like a VR host. It involved a lot of traveling around and a lot of public speaking. Don't get me wrong, it was like really exciting. I got to like travel around to like Ireland, to Madrid. I did a like live camera demo to like 100 people. Crazy. But yeah, I couldn't entirely hack it. It was really socially demanding. And then COVID hit, and like a lot of people, my mental health took a spiral. I eventually quit my job. I took some time to figure things out, and amongst that discovered that I'm autistic. Sorry, there will be awkward pauses while I drink my tea throughout this. um, so being unable to work at that point, and I guess learning more about my disability, it really meant that I had to reevaluate. And as you could expect, that was that was a big game changer for me, even though, I'd obviously always been how I am. I think I realised that I had to really start making some changes to better accommodate myself, and really not constantly push myself, because I was burning out quite frequently. And a part of that was finding a job that really suited me and that I could hopefully do long term. Just a side note really, I have no idea how I survived that long in sales. It was very exhausting. I was probably also not very good. And then as well, I could probably do a whole other talk on how I landed on programming specifically. But the short story to that is that I did a Unity bootcamp kind of on a whim. I immediately loved it, and I saw that role and the industry itself as an environment that I could thrive in. So what I quickly discovered was this kind of route to entry, or golden path of getting my dream role. And for someone that didn't have a degree in computer science or games development, this is the advice that I got most often. It was, do college or a boot camp, then go on to an internship, and then finally do an apprenticeship where you'll get a level 7 qualification. And this was my plan really. This was my my rule book. I very much got this in my head as this is how I will make it. And I'd as I mentioned, I've just finished a boot camp. I was super eager, and I really continued to learn a lot after that. I taught myself a whole load. I got involved in some game jams, which I didn't win, but I was involved. And I think during that time I was also on a code coven program, which was really cool, and that really connected me with a lot of other game developers as well. So I think all of that really helped me land that internship, and this was such a big deal. It was a studio that I really looked up to. There was a lot of buzz around their educational pathway, and there really wasn't much else like it, to be honest. As I didn't have a degree in something technical, I needed something to really solidify my skills and give me a bit more credibility. And during the internship, I got a bit of that. I learned more about the fundamentals. I started learning C++. And at the end of the internship, I made a really cute little fishing mini game that was super fun, and I'm still pretty happy with now. It's a really solid tiny little game. So this internship was seen kind of as a pathway towards the apprenticeship, because it was with the same studio, and that was really my goal. Whilst I was on the internship, I was gunning for the apprenticeship. And that was at the time what I thought I really needed to do to get the training and to become a programmer. Although I don't have that technical degree, I have a degree in fine art, and I think that it's really hard to know how much that benefited me having a degree at all. But I imagine it's higher education, so it still does. But it was definitely hard to compete with the people who had already had a games programming or a computer science or a physics degree. It's much harder going against those people, and that's I guess where the apprenticeship, I thought it really came in for me, was to give me that qualification to really kind of back what I was saying that I could do. But yeah, that didn't exactly go to plan. After completing the internship, I didn't make the cut. I didn't, make it onto the apprenticeship. And that was pretty soul crushing. And at the time, it really felt like so unfair. Like I'd worked really hard, and I just needed someone to believe that I was capable. I needed, some guidance and someone to tell me what I was missing. Yeah, I think it really felt like that was it for me. Like I'd been, applying for a lot of junior roles before this, and the feedback that I was like consistently getting was that I didn't have enough of the technical skills, and that's really hard to fight against without then getting a qualification or those technical skills, because I didn't really know necessarily what technical skills I was missing. And I think here is where I almost gave up. This was, yeah, I think looking back was the like pivotal moment for me, especially seeing like a lot of the other people on that internship who made it onto the apprenticeship. It was like really hard not to compare myself to them, and I guess like wonder why I wasn't good enough. And yeah, I was really struggling to like believe in myself and my own skill set, which I think can be quite common amongst marginalized people. So what next? What did I do next? This might sound a little dramatic, but I took some time to mourn. I really took a breather, and I allowed myself to be really sad about like not getting something that I really wanted. So I'm also sipping from some water. I've got two beverages with me for this talk. Um, yeah, but looking back, it was really important that I gave myself like that time to reset, and yeah, I really needed that. And after a while, can't remember exactly how long, but after a good while, I picked myself back up again and gave myself like a rough timeline, kind of like, this is how many months I can afford to pursue this before like I gotta put it on a bench for a while. And during that time, I went all in. I stayed really persistent. I kept learning. I updated my portfolio a lot, and I did a whole bunch of networking. During that time, I also had some mentorship through Limit Break, and I think I specifically chose a mentor who could really like look at my technical skills and help me like figure out what to focus on. And I was, pretty much self-taught and continuing to be self-taught. And yeah, as well, I received a Into Games IG50 award, which I think really helped me like stand out and also give me something to post about on LinkedIn, which is always helpful. So it just felt like I had lots of small things that were kind of mounting up to like put something on my CV or to like post more on LinkedIn, just things to kind of keep the ball rolling, I guess. And yeah, eventually I got hired as a junior programmer at a small startup where I guess I was mainly prototyping and just really like learning a lot on the job. Like it was pretty surreal. Like the owner like gave me a lot of grace there and really like taught me a lot as I was going, and I'm like, yeah, very grateful for that. But sadly, the project that I was hired for, it didn't go through, and I was laid off. I think after about 2 months. But yeah, as I mentioned, like having that internship at a really well-known studio, and even the experience with that startup, even though it was really short, it really gave me, I guess, some credibility and some technical backing, which is what I was really lacking before. And I think I posted on LinkedIn about getting laid off, and yeah, a really fantastic recruiter reached out to me, and I managed to get hired by a technical director who very luckily really understood autism, and I was able to be really open about my disability from the start and like have my accommodations met, and most importantly like not questioned either. So 2 years later, I'm still doing the job. I'm still doing it. And in hindsight, I think hindsight is kind of the main important thing here, and was what I've been like thinking a lot, and what really like led to this talk was, I really wanted to look back, and I wanted to see kind of what lessons I learned. And I think in hindsight, I would have maybe really struggled on that apprenticeship. I, I obviously can't know for definite, but I would have had to completely uproot my life, move to another city, and study full time, like in studio. And I'm not completely sure that I would have been able to do that. I really struggle to concentrate unless I'm in a very like specific environment. I do get like socially exhausted quite easily, and I also just don't adjust well to change. Like, it completely knocks me out of my routine. It takes me a good while to build that back up again. Um, and I think just working in a studio full time doesn't really feel very accessible to me, and I don't know that I can thrive in that environment. But I guess like an environment which does work for me is like a really quiet space which I have like control over, like the noise and the lighting, which I obviously do when I'm at home. A part of that is, like wearing like noise cancelling headphones, but also like not having people like walking around me constantly, because that will just like my concentration will switch. um, and also a good thing that I've got in my like home desk setup is having like a chair which really lets me like move around and fidget, uh, and also just making sure I've got like dedicated alone time. That's really important too. And these adjustments I think are what has really enabled me to learn so much over the last 2 years working as a junior programmer. I have like learned an insane amount, which I think has been possible mainly from remote work, and also from the accommodations that I've been given for my disability. Um, Another big part of my development, I think, has also been just being surrounded by people who get it. Like I mentioned, my TD was someone who really understood autism, but I also have been very, lucky to have met and worked with a lot of neurodiverse people who really, I guess, know how hard it is to try and function in, a world that wasn't made for your specific needs. And I think, I might not, have landed that if things had gone differently. So although it really, it really did feel dramatic, and it really felt like the end when I didn't land that apprenticeship, I am like insanely proud of where I've ended up now. And I don't know if I would have got this far if I'd done the apprenticeship. You don't know. Uh, so I think to summarize, I'm really proud that I gave myself some grace and you know, had that break to like really be sad about not getting something that I thought I really had to do. I think as well, I'm proud that after that I was able to pick myself up and really keep going again. I made a plan. I was very realistic with a cut-off point, and although I was pretty lucky again to then have been hired before I reached my cut-off point, I do think that if I'd taken some time after that, gone back to work, maybe worked part-time and tried again, maybe I really like to think that I would have been able to give it a second shot again, and that wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been a failure taking that time off, because I was like running out of money. I would have had to have a job at some point. um and then I'm quite proud that I was able to like ask for what I needed when it comes to like the accommodations with my autism. And finally, I'm also really like privileged and grateful that I had a lot of people to cheer me on and to like believe in me throughout that whole process when I really didn't. Because it's quite hard getting rejections and having that whilst you're already struggling with your like your like self-worth and your own ability, that's a lot. And the people around me really like cheered me on and helped me, I guess, fight like what I was talking to myself in my head, like, if that makes sense. Yeah, so thank you for listening to my short talk on how I almost didn't get into the industry. I guess I mainly hope that this really shows that you don't have to go the traditional route into games, and you know, your plan might change, and that's okay. Uh, and it gives maybe some inspiration if you're struggling with your career path right now. Because yeah, it is really hard, and it was a pretty bumpy ride for me. And I've also like, I guess I was quite like a late career changer. Like I'd already had a reasonably solid career, um, and I completely switched like in my late 20s. Um, but yeah, if you have like any questions or if you just want to chat, please reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn, just at Hollie Page, or on Blue Sky, holliepage.bsky.social. Uh, so yeah, just thank you again. It's been really fun. I'm also really looking forward to catching some of the other Impact talks myself, so make sure you check those out as well. Thank you.